It didn't work out the way I planned it, but I took everything positive. Like everything that happened, I'm glad it happened that year.
Jeremy Miles Tyler, born June 21st, 1991. If I make it, this will show people this is what you need to do. If I don't make it, then it will show them this is what you shouldn't do. So either way, it's a sign of being a trailblazer. And no matter what, it will always be the greatest story to tell. Well, today's feature does have a great story to tell. Unfortunately, when it comes to the fork in the road he compared the outcome of his future legacy to, he misguidedly chose the wrong way, leaving high school after his junior year to turn pro. The thing about being a trailblazer is you're only that when others decide to follow your trail, continuing to press down on the soil until the path becomes clear and frequently traveled. You're not a trailblazer simply because you failed at going against the grain, even if it was clearly the wrong choice and advised by just about everyone not to choose. Except for Jeremy Tyler's father, who was right on board with the decision, using the standard quote they all use to justify the argument for players not being allowed to join the NBA when they want. If 18-year-old kids can join the military and fight for our country, then why can't my son play professional basketball? Well, Mr. Tyler, or parents and guardians with this opinion, take this into consideration at least before you thrust your child into a situation they will have to live with for the rest of their lives should things not go right. In the military, you can die at 18 too. You're not just going there to suit up, carry video game guns, live in a tent with a few friends, and snap photos for social media. At any moment, your 18-year-old child can lose his life and never return home, unless in a 6'10" fitted box covered in the nation's flag. With that in mind, would you be so eager to send your kid to the military? A few years underdeveloped at that? Yes, we should all have a choice, but wouldn't you rather make a good one? One less risky, especially when your child is that gifted and scheduled to make the NBA in a few years anyway. Why not allow him to fully develop and continue to dominate the players at his level? That way, his mind can catch up to being that good. Maybe he faces some adversity like injury, a bad game or two where he experienced letting his team down, an off-court issue that straightens his focus, whatever. Granting he makes it through those, think about how much stronger and more ready he becomes. Best case scenario, he doesn't go through any of those and continues his great amateur play for the next 2 years. Then he has a LeBron James ceiling and not a Brandon Jennings, Emmanuel Mudiay, or Jeremy Tyler bus-worthy career. What happened to this once prodigy? Salute to Yed's Dre on IG for this request. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Jeremy Tyler is a 6'10" center and power forward from San Diego, California that was a dominant star for San Diego High. By his sophomore year, he was unstoppable and recruited by just about every major program in the nation. He committed to Louisville after the year and headed into his junior season, ranked the 7th best player in the country. Considering the 2010 class was loaded, this was high praise. Not that it was unexpected, because up to that point, no player could stop Tyler on either end, as he was tall but also moved with the confidence of a wing player at times and rarely was met with challenge at the rim. He averaged 28 points a game as a junior and was set to have an All-American senior year before a likely one-and-done college career until these growth stunts happened. Stunt number 1, skipping a big step. In 2005, the NBA changed its eligibility rules from no age restriction to a prospect has to be 19 years old and 1 year removed from high school to be eligible for the NBA draft. So, talented prospects that were advanced in their development, like Kevin Durant, Greg Oden, Derrick Rose, John Wall, and more, were some of the first to experience the effects of the new ruling and navigate an unconventional, at the time, way to the league. The most popular choice, going to college for a year. So popular, it was seen as a no-brainer. Until in 2008, Brandon Jennings, a top prospect in his class, opted to go to Italy for his 1 year removed, blazing a new, interesting path. Jennings did not have a great year, but it was seen as understandable because of the country barrier that included language and play style most importantly. Rarely do you see one player on a top European team come right in and average numbers you can in college, so the decision didn't hurt him enough for others not to take his path into consideration. After all, he was still the 10th overall pick in the draft. A year later, Jeremy Tyler decided to trailblaze an even riskier path, foregoing not just college, but his senior year in high school. It seemed everyone in those times, even today, had or has some scheme to bypass the NBA rules and get to the league as fast as possible, but they neglect the consequence of not being ready for such a level. Tyler hadn't been challenged in high school, especially as only a junior. He hadn't had the pressure of a senior year, nor the senior level competition. As a junior, with everyone praising his potential, it's easy to see him thinking he was ready, when in actuality, he wasn't close. First off, 6'10" is not that big for a guy wanting to dominate in the league at center. He was athletic, but not Dwight Howard-like, or monstrously strong like Greg Oden. But off to Israel Tyler went. He struggled against advanced, more physically matched but mentally stronger competition and rarely left the bench. Fans would have to altogether chant his name for him to even get in the game for 5 minutes. After 10 games, he whispered to a teammate on the bench that he was, quote, finna lose it, before leaving the bench before halftime and not returning to the team, instead booking a flight to what children consider the comfort of their own home. Jeremy Tyler was still just an unready child. Stunt number 2, maturity issues. Since high school, Jeremy has been hearing rumors of him being immature and lazy. Because he was playing the way he was though, those never went far until his year in Israel. In an interview with Sports Illustrated, Tyler said when asked about his relationship with his head coach, and I quote, "If he just gave me a little confidence, if he just said something to me in practice, it would make a big difference, but he doesn't. He ignores me." And that was all you needed to hear to know a poor decision was made. Professional doesn't only mean you've mastered one aspect of something. It means you've mastered all aspects, in this case, the mental fortitude to deal with unforeseen circumstances. LeBron James, Kevin Garnett mentally were ready. Tyler was still looking to be told what to do and waiting for an arm around his shoulders. Lonely, frustrated, no family around, no friends to talk to, nor getting the attention needed from authority, and no experience in those areas, made him decide to leave that bench and not return to the game or team again. In a year that important, that's the decision the 18-year-old made. Media from the US and Israel reported Tyler was lazy and immature and unable to adapt to being a pro. Even Maccabi team owner felt Jeremy Tyler was just too immature for that level at that point. This hurt him later when the NBA opportunity came. Stunt number 3, still not ready. After leaving the team in Israel, Tyler, who should have been preparing for the 2010 NBA draft since he would turn 19 that summer and 1 year removed, was instead looking for another pro opportunity to prove himself. A former Spurs coach, Bob Hill, and son Casey Hill were coaching a team in Japan's top league and signed Jeremy Tyler for the 2010-11 season. Upon seeing him play in person, they both thought he was still very raw and were shocked he was still underdeveloped in important areas to match his hype. Nonetheless, he was being attended to and carefully coddled, unlike in Israel, and had success in his limited time in Japan due to an earthquake and tsunami that would end the entire team's existence in 2011. He averaged 9.9 points and 6.4 rebounds in 15 minutes a game before entering the draft. His coach Bob Hill warned NBA teams they would have to constantly pretty much babysit Tyler to get the best out of him, and because most weren't ready to do that, he slipped to the second round of the 2011 NBA draft, selected 39th overall by the Bobcats and traded to Golden State. He played 42 games and averaged 4.9 points in 13 minutes. He had multiple D-League assignments in his first 60 games with Golden State before being traded to the Hawks, where they waived him after one game in 2013. He played 41 games with the Knicks in 13-14 before traded to the Kings, then Houston, who both waived him before playing a game because he was just not ready consistently. Dropped passes, missed layups, defensive lapses, and not enough offensive ability against that level were most of the reasons why. All in all, Jeremy Tyler took a chance on himself I wish he was better advised in taking. Hell of a life experience, but was it worth it? He still got to the NBA in the same time he would have had he stayed in school, but not with the same high praise and potential. Also much less confident and underdeveloped, having to sit so many games early as a pro instead of being in development situations. He made it to the league, but paid for that decision in becoming a bust and journeyman when things could have went much different. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.